Hey everybody, Kurt Nelson here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This video is going to be talking about tee work. And it's pretty evident when hitters walk into my cage that, there's usually a question either by a parent or a player after about, a 20-minute warm-up. We do our pre-movement prep. We do all of our mirror work and our dry work and our feels. Sometimes if I've already had a session with that hitter in the recent past, we might go back and look at video a little bit and kind of show them, what we want to work on. And then we go into flips. Then we start our flip routine. And then, so we kind of skip the tee, right? And I'm always like getting questions of why are we not using the tee? And I think that there's value in using the tee, especially if you're by yourself and you can't do anything else. But I think hitters that use tees, they use them improperly. I think they create bad habits off tees. And there's some simple reasons why I don't like the tee is that I'm not going to teach you to play golf by rolling a golf ball at you, right? I'm not going to teach you to hit a baseball by having a ball not moving. And that concept itself is just open skill versus closed skill environment. Now granted, there's a lot of great hitters in this world that use tees, that swear by the tee as a good warm-up or a good feel to find their swing. And by all means, if that helps you and you get better doing that, great, you should be doing that for sure. Right? But I think there's just way too many hitters as a whole that I see using tees that are creating bad habits on tees that do not translate and help. So my goal in this video is to help people understand how to use the tee better. Right? I'm not going to sit here and tell you not to use the tee, but I want you to understand how to use it better and more properly. Right? The first thing I don't like about a tee, and just in the tee itself, is that this tee doesn't go low enough. Like to me, this tee, I'm 5'9". On a good day, and this tee's not even to my knees. Like this tee's too high, right? So I can't even get to the pitch that the pitchers are trying to throw, right? And a lot of hitters with a lot of issues can just clobber some balls up, no problem because of maybe a certain type of bat path, and they struggle on the ball down. Why do pitchers try and throw the ball down, especially at the young age level? Well, it's because there's a lot of ground balls, there's a lot of miss on the ball down. So I feel like when we're on tees, there is value in doing some high tee stuff, and we'll get to that. But the low tee to me is really important. So these tees don't go low enough. In the past, I've bought some Tanner tee, like the youth Tanner tees. It's actually the same product, it's just built smaller. So the youth Tanner tee I actually like, because if you really want to use a youth Tanner tee, which they don't go very high, they probably go about half as high as these tees do, but they go really low. They get below the knees, which is awesome. And if you want them to go higher, then put it on a bucket. Put a bucket and just have it stand on a bucket. Now you can do high tee with a youth Tanner tee as well. Now, Tanner tees are pretty expensive, so we have these tees that have actually lasted really a long time. The newer Jugs tees, they've done a good job. And then what I use for my low tees, and these are actually a drill I got from another hitting coach called cone tees. And the cone tees they're awesome because they're kind of rubber. I got these off Amazon. It took me a while to kind of find the right one. I bought a few cones that didn't work, but they're kind of rubber and flimsy and flexy. So like, if you hit them, they might destroy them. You see this one's kind of got a little bit of a destroyed cap on it a little bit, but the balls, you can always tape it a little bit too. But this allows the hitter to not worry about breaking the tee or breaking their arms or bat, on a plastic hard tee. So there's a little bit of forgiveness there. And this one's about a foot. That one's like, a couple inches below my knees, maybe 3 inches below my knees. And then we have the other one here, which is very, very low. And this is like a complete ball, but it does a lot of good drill scores as well, especially when we try and take the down and in one up the middle. I love that drill. We'll get into that later on, and I'll have some guys demonstrating some of these drills later on as well. But that's to me is more valuable is having a tee that can get to that height. So, you can actually use a water bottle. I've actually had a lot of my hitters in the past have just used like empty plastic water bottles, right? Just your generic little, whatever ounces those are, but just those plastic water bottles. Unscrew the cap, make sure all the water's out of it so it's really light, and you just set it down, put a ball on top of it, just rest there just fine, and you can hit that way. The only thing about that is they get destroyed pretty quickly, right? So you can just have a whole bunch of empty water bottles, and you got a whole bunch of little tees that you can use, and you break them, you throw them away, or recycle them, right? So anyways, let's get into the main reason why we see hitters struggling on tees. It is really simple. It really is. It has a lot to do with vision, has a lot to do with setup, has a lot to do with how we would pick a ball up in the game versus how people hit off tees. So what happens is that hitters set up on a tee, wherever the tee is, they kind of get to their position they think is right, and what they do is they're setting up with their eyes on the ball on the tee, right? So they're already in the position where they're already closing themselves off. They're already kind of diving in on the tee, their vision's here. It's not in a position you would ever be in a game. So what we have to understand is we can use our mind in a pretty, imaginative way. So I want you to visualize a pitcher and I want you to find him, right? So where's the pitcher? Pretty easy. He's straight ahead. And I'm going to find the pitcher in my head. And now I'm going to kind of visualize the pitcher going through maybe a windup or maybe he's quick pitching from the stretch. And I'm going to find him. And then now I can almost have some rhythm based on what I'm seeing him doing and where he's at in space and time just in my brain. And then I can kind of track a ball coming in as it's coming in. And that's going to allow me to kind of pick this thing up last. And that way I'm not just sitting here staring at it. So find your pitcher, set yourself up, track a ball in your mind, and then you can get a tee up, a tee swing off from there. And that right there will help a lot of hitters use tees in a more realistic manner. Okay, so that to me is a very, very important concept there. The next thing with the tees is also in the setup. So I'm going to move the camera here for a second. Eventually I'll have someone help me with the camera stuff. But here we are. So you can kind of see here, generically, you're going to see the hitters lining up on tees, kind of the old school kind of thing where they put the outside tees away and deep, the middle ones a little bit further out in front, and then the inside one will go even further out in front. Okay, so let's just start with the middle. We'll start with kind of the middle one. There it is. Well, what do we see is we see the hitter line up with the front foot already on the tee, okay? So now, when they actually go to stride, a couple things are gonna happen is they're gonna wanna shift back and not go forward and just land narrow, because they know that if they made a linear move, that ball now has become kind of too deep and it kind of has beat me to that point, right? So I recommend we have to start behind tees more, because I wanna give myself some room to make a linear move and to work on hitting the ball out in front in a strong manner. Okay, so whether the ball's outside or it's middle or it's in, give yourself a little bit of extra space here, and sometimes you can even trial and error and just make them move out, and then just kind of look at where your front foot is, right? Now, ultimately, I think it's, like we talked about a second ago, is very generic for like a hitter to put the away pitch deep, put the middle pitch in the middle, and then put the inside pitch out in front. And that right there is a ginormous misconception, and the reason why is because in the game we are way more likely to hit the away pitch out front and further away from our body, and on the inside pitch we're way more likely to hit that ball deep and closer to our body. So if you're going to use tees, I recommend working on the side that you're more likely to do in the game and finding routes to have solutions to those different pitches when I am early on away or when I am late on in, right? So I would put the away tee, I do this drill a lot, is I put the away tee out in front, and I actually want them to be able to make their move, and I want them to know that, yeah, that ball's pretty far out in front for me on an away pitch. You're going to have a lot of contact points in that realm in a game, and if you're getting there by casting, if you're getting there by pushing, you just run out of room, and your ball flight's going to be flares and rollovers constantly. So you have to find a way to drive that backside through this pitch and still have the ability to hit through it and drive it into dead center or left center or right center, depending on your levers and your length and obviously your timing of things or where you've moved yourself to in relation to space in terms of the tee right now, right? And all of a sudden on in, you see the guys are always throwing it, or girls are always putting the tee really, really far out in front, and next thing you know, their comfort here, and then in the game that ball actually gets more honest there, and we have no comfort, we panic, and we're out, right? So, I recommend keeping the tee more out in front of the plate. There is some hitters that I would move the tee deeper. Somebody that's really lungy, somebody that's really drifting forward a lot, somebody that's constantly off that backside landing forward. Like having the tee a lot deeper at that point would force that hitter to stay stronger here and to stay behind it better with that upper body. We just don't want to be doing anything that's going to be changing our adjustability. Our adjustability is everything in an open skill environment, and a lot of tees cookie cut things to take adjustability out of hitters, really. It does happen a lot. So I challenge a lot of my guys that are going to use tees and girls that are going to use tees, I challenge them to do them in 3 depths. So if you're going to go work on away, don't work on away when you're right on time. Do a couple, but work on away when you're early, work on away when you're late. All right, if you're going to be middle, do some middle when you're early, do it when you're on time, do it when you're late, and then same thing with inside, right? So technically there's 9 zones, right? We got the 3 up, the 3 middle, and the 3 down, kind of little zones of the strike zone. And if you did every zone, so you did up, middle, up, out, up, in, and then middle, 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 and then down, 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 and you did all 3 depths, right? We're working the depth of things. Now you have the ability to create a little bit more of a difference in timing based on location, height. So technically there's about 27 positions, I think 9 times 3, right? There's about 27 positions where we can move this tee and actually create a little bit more of that kind of open skill idea of things. It's not going to be an open skill environment, but it kind of promotes that translation a little bit better. So I highly recommend working depth and then obviously up, down, in, out, but the depth stuff to me is everything. I think that hitting the ball deep is a really big misconception, is that I think people talk about hitting the ball deep. Bonds used to talk about it all the time. We even do some drills where you catch some balls off that back hip right here. I even still run that drill with a few guys to work on that connection of that back hip and back elbow right there. To me, hitting the ball deep, it has everything to do with how I get to the ball, right? So I usually typically give a pretty simple example here, okay? So here's the tee. It's going to be right down the middle. I'm going to set up in a pretty good, comfortable spot for me to feel like I can drive this ball to dead center, somewhere in that realm. And I show it, I go, okay, so right now, this is not deep contact, right? But on the exact same pitch without me moving, this is deep contact, right? So then all of a sudden what I'll do is I'll put the tee maybe a little bit further out in front here and away a little bit more, and I'll go, okay, this is not deep contact. And then we'll go to here and we'll go, okay, but this is deep contact. So all of a sudden, what's constituting deep contact is not so much actually where the ball is in hindsight of how I got there. Is I want to try and hit that ball out in front and deep. That's strong, that's palm up, palm down. That has that good natural connection with my backside and my posterior chain driving me through that. Now I can at least create this idea of what deep contact truly is and how I can work those things on the tee a little bit better. So those are some pretty basic ideas of why hitters would get worse using a tee, and hopefully this information gives you a better understanding of how you should be going about your tee routines and what you should ultimately be trying to get out of your tee routines, right? So don't let the tee get you worse. Hopefully that tee is promoting some better swings and some better moving pieces as we move forward. So I love it. Let's keep getting better together. Any questions or comments, let me know.